What is water worth? Water, water everywhere. Many of us around the world take water for granted. Why shouldn't we? When water is all around, it comes from out of our faucet, faucets and collects in puddles on the sidewalk when it rains. Lakes and rivers brim with water. You buy water in bottles and slurp it from drinking fountains. In fact, if we had a glass as big as the United States and filled it up with every drop of water on the planet, the glass would have to be 145 kilometers tall to hold it all. With so much water, you'd think everyone would have enough to drink. Not so. The drop in the bucket, water is fast becoming more precious than gold or oil. The planet simply does not have enough usable water to go around. For one thing, most of the Earth's water is salt water, which we can't drink or use to water our crops. Only about 3% of the water, Earth's water, is fresh, and it is and most of that is locked away in polar ice caps, glaciers, or underground layers of rock called aquifers. Moreover, water is not equally distributed around the world. Some countries have more water than others, but most have enough water to meet people's need. What they don't always have is the means to have that water available to people. High-income countries can tap into hard-to-reach sources of water much more easily than low-income countries, where people often don't have enough money to dig wells or build dams to recreate reservoirs. Today, we can only reach and use 1% of the Earth's fresh water. That 1% is under stress owing and the three underlying problems: pollution, increased demand driven by the world's ever increasing population, and climate change. Population's impact. Water pollution is a problem on many continents. South America's Amazon rainforest includes 7 million square kilometers and is home to about 30 million people and more than 30,000 plant species. For decades, people have been dumping untreated human waste and toxic chemicals into the Amazon River. These poisons are slowly destroying the jungle's fragile ecosystem. In other low-income areas, where fresh water often goes untreated, disease-carrying organisms grow and make people sick in other ways. Because people lack access to running water or indoor plumbing, bacterial-laden waste then flows into rivers and streams. People use the water in these toxic waterways for drinking, cooking, and bathing. According to the United Nations Development Program, half of the world's hospital beds contain patients sick from waterborne illnesses. High-income countries such as the United States, where most people have access to clean drinking water, experience other challenges with pollution. The most common is agricultural runoff. Every time it rains, chemicals and animal waste from farming are washed into waterways. An aging sewage treatment system, oil spills, wastewater from fracking for oil and gas, and radioactive waste all threaten U.S. waters as well. The Clean Water Act helps prevent various forms of water pollutions. Some administrations have tried to expand its protections, while others have tried to limit them. Population's impact. In 2011, people hit the milestone on October 30. A baby girl was born in the Philippines. The world's 7 billion people. 7 billionth people. By 2050, experts say that 9.7 billion people will be walking the planet, each looking for food, energy, land, and water. Growing populations reduce the amount of water available for each person. In 1950, the 2.5 billion people on Earth only used a third of the fresh water that we use today. Many people thought of water as an unlimited resource. Today, research shows that 1 in 9 people in the world lack safe drinking water. Many live on less than 8 liters a day. By 2050, more than half of the world's people will live in water-stressed regions. In Bangladesh, water pollution is caused in yet by poverty and in part by overpopulation, yet its population could balloon into 250 million by 2050, more than 85 million more people than the countries held in 2020. High-income countries are far less likely to face polluted drinking water because they often have the means of purifying their water and dispose of human waste properly. However, pollution growth in a high-income country can lead to water shortages too. One reason is that people in most countries consume more water. In the United States, a 4-person family on average uses 1,514 liters of water a day, or roughly 379 million liters per person. This level of water use would be sustainable if only a few people were drinking the water. Instead, more and more people rely on limited water sources. For example, Los Angeles' country's population is expected to exceed 13 million by 2050, yet the country can only support 1 million people on its own water. So what does it do? Los Angeles and many other countries in the western United States pull their water from distant rivers. Pulling water is expensive, and there is no longer enough river water to go around. The impact of climate change. Climate change is already affecting people around the world by producing extreme weather conditions such as storms and floods. Yet the threat that climate change poses to the global water supply may be the worst threat of all. Scientists predict that by 2050, more than 5 million people may face severe water shortages as a result of climate change. Climate change occurs as a result of too much carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. These gases produced in large part of the burning of fossil fuels trap the sun's heat close to the Earth's surface, much like a greenhouse. The result is an overall increase in Earth's temperature. That warming in turn leads to climate change. The warmer temperatures disrupt the water cycle, which is a delicate balance between the evaporation and precipitation. Warmer temperatures increase the rate of evaporation of surface water in the atmosphere, affecting different parts of the world in different ways. Increased evaporation might dry out some areas while producing excess precipitation in others. Droughts are long periods of abnormally low precipitation that result in a shortage of water. Regions at the highest rank of drought include the Mediterranean and the Middle East in the United States. Most scientists say that climate change is responsible for the extreme drought in the Southwest and California. The drought in the Southwest have been causing problems in the region since 1999. The water level of Lake Mead on the border between Nevada and Arizona has plummeted. The lake, which is fed by the Colorado River, is a source of fresh water for 25 billion people. If rains don't increase soon, odds are good that the residents will have to start radiationing water. In 2019, Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico agreed to cut for the first time under drought contingency plan. Scientists say climate change is also responsible for the melting glaciers and the Himalayan mountains. The glaciers have helped provide fresh water for 1 to 5 billion people living in India, Pakistan, and 6 other Asian countries. In the past, the melting glaciers slowly released water into the tributaries of the Indus, Ganges, and Brahmaputra rivers. Now the rapid melting of the glaciers is depleting the water supply. At the same time, the increased glacier melt has caused flooding along each of the three rivers.